What's up, buddy?
How you doing, man?
We made it. A little bit late, better late than never. Fight Show episode 5 brought to you by Pull No Punches Apparel, 717 Surplus. Been a week, man.
Yeah, it was a wild week in mixed martial arts, but that's why we love it, man. Nobody tunes in to see everything go smooth, you know?
It's nuts. I remember like I was having a I was having a one of them late nights with a newborn, and I wasn't quite ready to go to bed yet because I was convinced that she was going to wake up in about 5 minutes, and I literally jumped on Twitter and uh John Jones, like it literally just dropped. I'm like, oh shit. Like I usually catch stuff, 5-6 hours later, depending on what, but that shit broke. And I was like, motherfucker.
You know what?
Hey guys, I see we got some viewers. If you guys want to interact with the show, whatever, drop a comment. We'll throw it up on the screen. We can bullshit. Even if you're not an MMA fan, we appreciate you stopping in.
I was really heartbroken about the John Jones thing, man. You know what? Who knows what's going on in his head or in his heart, but Madison Square Garden, main event, you got like, you're up there with some of the highest. I'm not sure if he has the most title defenses in UFC history, but had he won that against Stipe in Madison Square Garden, man, what a better time than that to go out and retire, and just be done with the whole thing. That would have been the moment, Those tickets, when my girl and I looked at them, they were $1,200 for the nosebleeds, and that's before Ticketmaster and all them people started tacking their fees on. I checked the other day; they're down to like $400. You imagine if you bought those tickets thinking you were going to see John Jones' last fight.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an MMA fan, you're going to go anyways. Your buddy Brent Style, I don't know if you can you see this popped up here? It's the first time we're really using this, so.
5 o'clock Shadow Bill, yeah. Yeah, that was a brutal couple overnight shifts that I had at work. We're going to shave that up here in the afternoon, but right now.
Hey, did you can do the Johnny Walker. You see Johnny Walker took everything off, but about this much.
Yeah, he
got. See if you can pull that off. Old bald white guy. If you could pull that off, man, you're doing something.
He's got the Charlie Chaplin or Hitler look going on. However you.
Yeah, he looks slightly German.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for stopping in, Jamie. Appreciate you, dude.
Yeah, for when you need to run a country at noon, but you gotta,
But you gotta get kneed in the head at 9 a.m. Abu Dhabi time.
Right?
No, so yeah, John Jones thing completely freak. I think. I mean, from a perspective of if you're gonna, we clearly didn't end it. The MMA gods giveth, and the MMA gods taketh away. You know what I'm saying? We lucked out with the last card. There's no way we were getting lucky 2 in a row. I'm glad Stipe's not fighting. I'm glad we're not just swapping somebody out for Stipe, because this is the fight for Stipe, So
yeah. And I'll tell you what, we didn't get the worst replacement fight in the world. It's I don't know. Like I said, I don't ever want to turn this into a gambling show, but if you got a couple $1,000 and you want to throw it away on that fight to not go the distance, Tom Aspinall and Sergey Pavlovich. Yeah, Sergey and Tom Aspinall, that ain't going 5 rounds.
Yeah, no, we're not. We're definitely gonna hit. I looked at the Derek Lewis card, and it's I'll probably just watch. It's one of them cards where I don't want to dog anybody on the, but I'm just like, ugh. All right, I'll just tune in when Derek fights. But no, this is the updated finalized card for next week or the week after, I guess.
Yep, November 4th.
Yuri and Alex. Yuri's Yuri, but he
yeah, you know what? I don't think Yuri Prohaska is going to try and grapple him too much, and Pereira just has a ton more experience. A world of experience in stand up and striking, and he's dealt with guys like Yuri Prohaska before. I think he should probably get that one done.
Yeah, no, I think he will. I think we'll cover this. I don't want to get into it because we'll cover Pat Sabatini.
Yeah, Pat.
Excited about that one.
Yeah. That's a good fight.
Definitely the Tom Aspinall fight. Jessica Andrade. Mackenzie Dern. I always love watching Mackenzie Dern.
Yeah, she's a
foot.
Yeah, she's that should be a decent one. Matt Frivola, the steamroller. I like that guy, man. But
we'll definitely match now.
That Saint Denis guy. He's pretty damn good.
It's still a good card.
It's not bad.
Like I said, we'll go into that. We'll go into that more Thursday.
Okay.
Jared Gordon. So yeah, these are the cards where top to bottom, like that you're gonna see
Oh, somebody, hey,
two
somebody,
flyweights at the bottom of the card, but they're two flyweights at the bottom of the card. So I think like it's kind of like a Dana White Contender Series. Like, okay, we're opening up the prelims on the pay-per-view. Time to put a show on. Like, hopefully,
yeah, oh yeah,
we'll
yeah. It's
see.
time to
It
do
depends
that.
on who you get.
That show is open for somebody to steal the show, you know. And it's like I said, that Matt Frivola, if he ends up, I mean, he fights for the knockout. If he knocks out that Saint Denis guy, I know Matt Frivola wants that Patty Pimblett fight pretty bad, you know. So he'll probably
Yeah.
get on the mic and start barking at Patty again, you know.
Now I noticed like a few times, and again, like you said, and it brings a weird point, but like when you have a card that gets shaken up like that, and I mean, don't get me wrong, Yuri, Alec, like Tom Aspinall, these guys are names. Like these guys are definitely names. They're ranked. Or you got the co-main and the main's got top 5 guys in their respective divisions. So you have it. These guys have already cemented themselves. They're already, the plays are already in motion. It's if you're on a card like this, a guy like Pat Sabatini, who's already making a name for himself, and who, of course, we're fans of, but still, regardless, highlight reel knockout. Somebody like Mackenzie Dern, again, top 7. Still, there's so many ranked people on this card that if you have a chance, these guys that are opening up the show got a chance to really put a show on, and we saw it. And I can't remember what it was, but it was recently. We saw a show, and from top to bottom, Dana White even made a comment about it at the press. Like, this is why we love the sport.
Where is that show from? Is that from the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas?
The Yuri, no,
Yeah.
Yuri's from you. Hold on,
Yeah, where's that show at?
the next one.
Yeah.
The Lewis card is from Brazil.
Okay.
I mean, we can get into it now. I got it up. Hold up. We can get into it now. Fuck it. I was talking more. I was just actually scrolling back through the Yuri card, and like I said, we'll cover that more next week. But if you're looking, like,
Okay.
there's so many ranked fighters in there sprinkled that were these other people that are filling the play. Like, this is your time to do the show. Like, they already have the plan for Mackenzie Dern. So win or lose, they kind of know what's going on with Mackenzie Dern.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of plans, did you hear they cut Breeden?
That was he one of, well, he missed weight, which I know they're not huge fans of. He was 0-3.
Yeah.
He was 0-3 in the UFC before that fight. And I'm shooting from the hip here. Was he one of those guys that reported that he had staph infection but didn't let the doctors?
You know what? I know there was a female that did it. I don't remember who it was off the top of my head because
earlier this week, Dana White said, if you're gonna lie, take it all the way home, man. Lie the whole way home. Don't. When you start saying stuff like that, that's not going to gain you any fans or gain you any favor with the UFC. That's going to piss them off more than anything. Is that you put another athlete at risk for that shit, which, that's staph infection is pretty serious stuff. It hits everybody different. Somebody might have a more severe reaction to it than another.
You're right on that, and I thought about, and I didn't take that into consideration when I was thinking about it.
Oh yeah,
but it says right here,
he pissed them the hell off, man.
In my head, you had somebody that just hit a highlight reel performance, but there's caveats with it, and I didn't take and I heard it, and I'm like, okay, we'll talk. I'll look into it, whatever. And I haven't looked into it yet, but I'm like, oh, they cut him. Like it's very. I wouldn't say it's very rare, but it's kind of rare when you hear a guy come through the news cycle the week before.
Yeah.
Regardless of the situation, I mean, look at Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland at one point was getting ready to get cut.
Yep.
But it's very rare that you hear something come through the news cycle, and then the very next thing you hear them come through the news cycle is they're cut.
Well, here's the thing with that too. Not saying that you pissed the UFC off one of 3 ways. You missed weight by, I think it was 4, 5 pounds. It was sizable, but you missed weight. You apparently put bad press out for yourself, saying you had staph infection. You didn't report it. And then if you think Dana White doesn't want that India market, he does, man. There's a lot of people over there. MMA is not a big, particularly big sport over there, and he wants to grow it in India. I believe they said that Anshul Jubilee, I believe his name was. He was probably, I think, the first. I don't want to butcher where he was from, but you beat one of their boys they were hoping was going to take UFC to like another part of the world, you know? So you piss them off in 3 different ways. And you know what? That was an interesting fight. Guy was down 2 rounds to nothing, starts barking, steals the other guy's soul. The other guy just freaking Jubilee freezes up and then just gets knocked out. Like, it wasn't vicious, but I mean, he got folded up. You know, it's like, I've never seen a guy start barking and just free somebody like that. You know, that's I've reffed a couple thousand fights, and that's the first time I've ever seen that. And you know, I've been in the cage before, and another guy's been swearing and talking shit, walking somebody down, calling him a fucking pussy, blah blah blah. And as a referee, you know, I have to say, you know, I don't have to, but I sometimes keep clean, just fight. You know, if you start barking like a dog, I don't really know what to say about that, other than to just let you bark and swing. I don't know. If you could beat somebody, if you can scare them or psych them out by barking, that's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, no, I said, I guess while we're not too deep into it, we might as well backtrack a little bit. We're kind of all over the place. Everything's off today. It's Saturday. It's daylight. I'm not used to seeing you in daylight. No, the Walker stoppage.
Okay, yeah. First,
like,
without going on a ref rant or anything like that, let's fix that damn rule. You know, if you got a knee down and you have both hands up to defend your, you know, you have the availability to defend your face with both hands because your knee's down. You know, years ago when Big John McCarthy and all those guys were coming up with these rules and making all this stuff up, and anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I could have swore that was for like north-south position or side control. They didn't want guys getting kneed from the head and that. Now we've turned it into this rule of controversy, and everybody's trying to, oh, you know, was his fingertip down or was the palm down or was the knee down? Fix the damn rule. You should be able to throw a knee from there. You know, the Peter Yan, Aljamain Sterling thing there. You know, Sterling could have rolled to his back. He could have stood up. He could have shot for the guy's leg, but he hung out on the ground there. And, you know, Peter should have known the rules. He shouldn't have thrown the knee because of the way the rules are. But my thing, let's fix the damn rule. The ABC meets every year. Fix the rule for what the hell it was meant for and what it's supposed to be. You know, we turned it into this whole other thing, and it's creating unnecessary controversy.
The 12-6 elbows, I remember watching something, and the 12-6 elbows stemmed from when they first started doing this. They would see karate people doing a straight, you know, 90-degree elbow, 12-6, and not 90 degrees, sorry, but straight 12-6, and breaking boards. And that's why, and to me, if you look at this, and it's a case-by-case basis, like make the rule steadfast, have no gray area. We just updated it when they did the unified rules and rechanged them. When was that? A couple years back. They did. That's when the whole fingertip kind of hit palm plant. Like it kind of changed that a little bit. But then, like you said, in this situation with Walker, he one knee on the ground, fully capable of defending himself. There's argument, and I've seen this in just the gutter rooms on Facebook, but there's arguments about, oh, well, he was trying to, it slipped up from the chest. He was trying to do a body. No, he threw a straight, if you want to say 12-6 elbow, he threw a straight 6-12 knee. There was no, he could have curved it in. Walker's got enough body mass. He could have curved it in.
It looked like it hit his collarbone to the neck to under the jaw. You know, it wasn't particularly a straight knee to the temple. You know what I mean?
The angle I saw that I liked, that really kind of just clean from start to finish, but it's so quick in the camera angle because the UFC cut off that angle. Mm-hmm. But when he hits clean. Like when he hits here, and it drives the face up. There was no curving. There was no. It was straight. And again, not saying he's a dirty fighter, not saying any of that, but we need to fix the rule.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of trying, let's get back to what the rules for. And you're right, man. A lot of these rules in MMA were made back when people were real uneducated, and whoever was regulating it, he was at some karate tournament and saw a dude break boards with his elbow 12-6, and he's like, I don't want somebody's head getting split open like a watermelon, so he made this rule illegal. You know, it's like a lot of the, not a lot, but a couple of the rules we have are from back in the day where people were real uneducated on the sport. And we still have them hanging around, and we keep on screwing around with these rules that are like completely freaking unnecessary. You know, it's we're so far away from what the rule was originally made for. We won't veer off too deep into the NFL, but you get, these studies came out that said, hey, getting hit in the head is bad, so they make these new rules, and then somebody getting blocked, his hand brushes against the quarterback's helmet, and it's a 15-yard penalty. That's not what the rule was for. It wasn't the spirit of the rule. It's not the intent. Let's fix the freaking rule. I know I'm good friends with a couple of the people who are. They go to that ABC meeting every year, and they have that ABC. It pretty much comes up with whatever rules they come up with at that meeting is pretty much adopted by every state anymore these days. It's not so much like it was where every state had their own set of rules. They're kind of all going with the ABC rules now. So they meet every year.
Yeah, but
and
consistency, and Kate, we talked about let's not. Again, you made the move to ESPN, and I'm saying UFC, but everybody, unified rules are unified rules, whether it's UFC, whether it's CFFC. It's I don't know if people understand that, but you have a situation where the UFC has taken the sport to a mainstream level. They got the ESPN deal. Mm-hmm. As you stated the other week when we were talking about cage size, a mound in Baltimore and a mound in LA, pitcher's mound in baseball, same distance. Mm-hmm. Fence, different, whatever, but there's uniformity. Football field, you're running 50, no matter if you're in St. Louis or you're in Dallas, Texas. You're running 50 yards if you're half the field. So let's get some consistency in cage size. Because the rule is only part of the problem.
Yeah.
The whole fiasco with the doctor, was just complete fuckery. I had people in the comments, well, he clearly saw a concussion. How? I understand. You're talking about a guy with a language barrier who at the pre-fight press conferences goes like this and really listens for a second while you're talking. So you're in the middle of an arena after you just got kneed in the head and you want to give the guy 36 seconds. And again, Chael said something, and I don't, knowing you personally and knowing the stories that you've told, I don't tend to go after the ref as much as a rabid normal fan, but the ref could have done so much. The ref had a choice to do stuff. The doctor kind of took over. And we lost Bill. Hold on a second. We're going to bring him back. If you're in the show, throw a comment up while Bill's not here. We can interact. We can get some opinions. We can do whatever, man. Even if you're not a fan, you don't even know what the hell we're talking about, we appreciate you stopping in. Bill will pop back here in a minute. This happens once an episode. I appreciate you, Jamie, man. You always support. Known this kid. We went to elementary school or middle school together. This guy, not even a kid, this guy. I've known him since we were kids. Just good up, dude. Jamie, what's up, man? Appreciate you. Wait to get Bill back. Hold
on. I'm back, brother.
And he's back. And he's back. No, but yeah, let's have some uniformity. Let's get rid of the rules. The doctor, we were on the doctor, I think. The doctor, I don't know what his deal was. Like I said, Chael Sonnen had a little bit of a bitch fest about the ref putting the burden off on the doc, which the ref's call to call the doc in. He probably could have talked to him for a minute. They have a rapport with these fighters. You guys are all at the pre-fight meeting. It's not like these refs don't have any personal interaction with these guys or don't know them. Maybe this guy, again, they were in Abu Dhabi with a different commission. So maybe not the rapport of, say, the rapport you might have had with Mike Pope, who ref 2 or 3 of his fights. You know what I'm saying? So it's a different level. So there's different characteristics of the problem. But
well, here's the deal with that, okay? And I think anybody, if you were in the position to referee a fight and there's illegal head contact, especially this day and age, with everything going on regarding CTE and head trauma and stuff like that. If there's an illegal shot to the head, as a ref, I'm telling you, you call the doctor in. Yeah, you get that liability off you as quick as possible. You know, I mean, you don't want an illegal headshot to happen with a guy getting kneed in the head by Ankalaev, and you don't even call the doctor in, and you let him continue to fight. And then, you know, after the fight, it plays out. He gets hit in the head a couple more times, and he's convulsing in the backstage. And it turns out he had serious damage from, you know, whatever headshot, and you didn't take the dime to call the doctor in. Well, now you're probably part of a lawsuit. You know, it's like, yeah, dude, it is. Nobody, I'm telling you, the referees, any illegal head contact, illegal shot to the head on the ground or something like that, your due diligence is to call the doctor in. You know, and Chael Sonnen's probably right, man. He wanted, dude, if a doctor says the fight is over, you're just some run-of-the-mill referee that they hired, whatever. You don't outrank a doctor, especially if that were ever to go to any kind of legal proceeding or go to court. You know, the doctor, everybody says the referee is an idiot. Nobody ever really calls the doctor an idiot, you know? Or, you know what, the thing is, I didn't want to roast the guy too bad. I didn't want to give him a hard time. Who knows how the hell he got there, but I couldn't find that guy's name anywhere online. I have no idea who that doctor is. You know, so like I said, people are going to bitch about it and then move on. And this week, that doctor, he's back to work. You know, no harm, no foul. It doesn't matter. Where if I make some stupid fucked up call, everybody knows who I am, and it's a giant issue, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of moving parts. I know and again, situations present themselves and you've never seen it before. So it's foreign to people. And that's why I'm glad that, like, I can defer to you and you get a general consensus. I mean, if I go to you being my personal, like, oh, okay, what do you think of this ref situation? Because you have the most experience of anybody in my circle. And then
listen,
and I hit you up immediately. And but even so, if I hit you up and, you know, immediately you give me the feedback and then, you know, trickles down through and John McCarthy does kind of give similar feedback, or Herb, you know, or some these guys chime in a little bit. It opens up the perception on what happened, because fans are only looking at it from their perspective, their uneducated perspective, and uneducated meaning if you've never reffed, if you've never been involved in backstage production, if you've never been involved with commission work. So I say this because 98% of fans that are just fans haven't had anything more than, some of them never even went to a live show. So you have these people online spewing this shit. And again, it's the internet. Who gives a fuck? But
well, here's the thing. Let me tell you about that. Is just because I have experience, I see things for the first time like you guys do. Just because I was in that cage and made a call, that doesn't mean I was always right. I was gathering the information just like you guys were. A lot of stuff. If it's the first time, if you've been watching the sport for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, you've pretty much seen everything that I've seen. So if you're seeing something new for the first time, there's a good chance it's probably new to me as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just because I say something, or, you know, I have some experience, it doesn't mean it's gospel. It doesn't mean I'm always right. You know, and I think a lot of these situations, this shit is happening on the fly. And like I said, we could do a little better with the doctor cleanup. You know, I've only seen a couple fights over the course of time where a guy says one key word and the doctor just calls the fight. You know, or the referee calls the fight. You know, take the full 5 minutes, evaluate. You know, you have up to 5 minutes to evaluate anything like that. Even if you're a doctor or a ref, talk it over with the commission. Say, okay, here are our options. This could play out a couple of ways, you know, because I read people online, they were bitching about when Peter Yan threw it against Aljamain Sterling, it's a DQ. Okay, when Ankalaev sits there, kind of similar situation, he should know that Johnny Walker has a knee down and he throws it. Well, now it's a no contest because it's accidental. There's no consistency in that whatsoever. You know what I mean? It's like, maybe he lost his mind in the moment. Maybe it didn't, you know, land where he intended, but you knew the guy was down and you need him in the head. But yet we have two different fight results, you know? So it's like, that's something that, again, we're not being uniform. And I saw people bitching about that. I didn't even think about it at the time. We're just so quick to call any strike like, oh, that was unintentional. You're sitting there staring at the guy with his knee down for 10, 12 seconds, and you decide to throw a knee towards his head.
I got into that. I tried one of the pundits, one of the fucktards on Facebook, one of the groups.
I like that word. I
said, no, that rule was designed. That rule was designed for, and I wouldn't even say that's how the rule was designed, but that's more of a situation where you decide unintentional where, you know, a guy's positioning on like north-south. You know, he's got the guy inside control, and then he slides up, goes north-south, and he throws a knee. Hey, unintentional. Stand him up. Give him his 5 minutes. That was completely unintentional. I don't think we should stop a fight because a guy was inside control and he went to north-south, and in some movement, you know what I'm saying? I've got knocked out. I got flash knocked out in jiu-jitsu because my brother of all people, we were in a scramble and we were transitioning, and the way my head came down and the way his knee came up, he clipped me and I just went out for a sec. Yeah. Like, it happens. I've lived it. That type of situation, you know, evaluate, take the 5, stand them up, do whatever. This is a whole different situation entirely. And again, it's all about, I say perspective. There's perspective and perception, because it's going sidetrack a little bit, but it illustrates the point of fans watching, people like you with a little bit of experience watching. There was a pod I listened to about Steve Ranella, who's a hunter. He hangs out with Rogan, whatever. I listened to one of their podcasts. They had been in bear camp in Alaska. Okay. There were 6 guys sitting around a fire, and a bear came running, like a full-grown Alaska grizzly, 600, 700, 800 pounds, whatever. Don't quote me on the weight, but a huge bear ran into camp. And these 6 guys finally got back together since the trip. It was the first time they got back together, and they're all sharing their stories. All 6 of them were there. All 6 of them were there when it happened. And at least a dozen times during that podcast, one would say, well, this happened. And another guy was like, no. It went this way. So you have 6 people at the same time in the same place looking at the same thing with 6 different perspectives. And I think education has a part to play in it. There's fans that aren't educated. There's fans that don't choose to do it, but there's fans that never played a snap of football in their life, in their football. You know, so it's about the level of involvement, I think, and I think fans knowing what's going on before they open their mouth. And again, it's the internet. People run their mouth. Who cares? But
hell, I run
for an experience, I think the experience that I have as a fan, it brings the enjoyment up a level. Understanding what I'm watching. You know, the fans that sit there and scream when there's ground exchanges and people aren't moving. And I personally watch Polaris Jiu-Jitsu. You know what I'm saying? I'm a fan of Jiu-Jitsu, so I like the Jiu-Jitsu exchanges. I watch kickboxing, so I like the striking exchanges. I like them, but that's the part of being more than just a casual in this sport, and that's why I refuse to go to B-dubs or whatever like you do. I'm not listening to these assholes. I can't. It just irritates my soul.
Yeah, I got you. No, I know what you're saying, but yeah, it's like I said, with a lot of this stuff. Hopefully, they meet in June. Hopefully, they need something to do when they show up at these conferences and stuff. So hopefully, we can get some of the rules fixed moving forward next year. We're so far away from what the rule was actually intended for, you know. And like I said, they gotta make a commitment. You know, you can't have one week where a fence grab stops a takedown and it's a warning, and then the next week there's a fence grab and it's a point. You know, you can't have one knee to the head in one fight that was, you know, clearly after the guy was down for a while and it's a DQ, and then the next week it's a no contest. You know, you got to get some uniformity with this stuff. Like I said, I'd rather them just fix the freaking rule. You know, those knees to the head from the Aljamain Sterling and Jan and the Ankalaev. Why shouldn't you be able to throw a knee from there? You know what I mean? It's like the guy has his hand to defend if he wants to. You know, he's not helpless. And these guys, I forget what it was the other week. I saw one. It might have been Makaev versus Tim Elliott. Somebody was draped over, letting their fingers try and drape across the floor, and it's gaming the system. It's not really what the rule was for, and guys are exploiting it. You know, let's fix that shit. And they have. Yeah. They've done a good job. They went from just your fingertips down to it has to be a full palm down. You know, you know what's better to do with your hands and fists than drag them across the mat trying to get it up and defend your face. You know, that's what you should be using your hand for, not to try and game the system. You know, I think it was Tim Elliott that was throwing knees at Muhammad Makaev. I butchered his last name probably there, but hopefully this June when they meet up, they can fix some of these rules, and get like we were saying, get a little bit more consistency. People don't realize in the grand scheme of mainstream sports, the NFL and the Major League Baseball and NBA been around for anywhere from 70 to 100 years. The UFC in the grand scheme of things, we're only 30 years in. We're still seeing some new stuff, and let's take a step forward next year and fix the rules.
Yeah, uniformity would be good. I think the grounded opponent rule needs to change. I think the 12-6. Are you ever going to get rid of the 12-6 elbow rule? I feel like they've been doing this for 30 years, and like people need to understand too. Like there are unified rules of mixed martial arts. And if newer fans or fans that have come along since the ESPN deal or whatever, they might not understand the concept that there was a time not that long ago where
Yep.
you as a fighter and you as a manager and you as a coach and you as the commission, you're going to the place that you're going, you're holding the event there. The commission is that commission, but they have their version of the unified rules. So you as a fan or you as a fighter, you as a coach had to maybe adjust.
You had
Oh, I'm
35 different rule books depending on where you were at.
Yeah.
It's like you couldn't fight the way you trained everywhere. Everybody
Yep.
had their own different rules. There was a lot of, and the sports progressed a good deal in the past 5 years. 5 years ago, like I know, there's a lot of egos in this sport. There's a lot of, I'm the king shit. I run this state. Nobody's going to tell me what to do. I know everybody loves to point to the usual suspect. It wasn't just him. It wasn't just our leadership here in PA. There was a lot of egos involved. John McCarthy has a big old ego on him. Friggin', a lot of these guys want their voice to be heard. And everybody wants to be in charge. And the guy, and it was a power struggle. And these heads of commissions would be like, oh, you're not going to come to my state and tell me what to do. And they was just like I said, we are at a point now though where I do feel that the UFC is powerful enough and they've put enough pressure on commissions that people kind of are just going with the whatever the ABC says, and we are really getting more towards a unified rules of mixed martial arts. Remember when they used to do the UFC shows, and they'd be leading off the show, and they say, "We're using the old rules tonight. We're in Salt Lake City, Utah, and we're using the old rules." Like
Mm-hmm.
what?
Yeah, and people don't, again, educate yourself just to understand what's going on, and you'll spare yourself how much griping and bitching on the internet for these people that are just no, that's not.
Dude,
In no way, shape, or form is that how it's worked ever anywhere.
It's hard to get everything right when you have a uniform rule book. Whether you're in the NFL, the NBA, mixed martial arts, just the regular rule book alone is enough to make sure and try and make sure everybody's on the same page. Yeah, if you got 30 different fucking 30, dude, I'll tell you this. There was a rule, and I'm so glad that it never happened to me, and it's fixed now, okay? I shit you not. I had personal conversations with Greg Serb, and I told him, I said, imagine I ever get put in this position. Say you and I are fighting, and I knee you in your groin. I'm losing 2 rounds to nothing. Your hometown's there. I knee you. I blast you straight in the balls. You had 5 minutes to recover. It was from boxing. It was a boxing rule that had been just mushed over with the MMA side. If I need Garrett in the balls, you had 5 minutes to recover. If you did not recover and come back out to continue the fight, I win by TKO. Are you shitting me? Can you imagine? Yeah. Can you imagine we're in the 5th round of a UFC main title fight here in Pennsylvania? A guy's been, he's down every fucking round, and he just blasts the dude in the balls. The guy can't continue, and he's the new champion. Like, I asked Greg. I said, "Can you imagine if I ever got put in that position?" Within the next year or two, they did change that. That if it was unintentional, you could go to the unintentional foul rule, which is if you're more than 2 rounds in, you go to the scorecards, or if it happened before the midway point or the 2-round point of the fight, then it was a no contest if you deemed it, unintentional. But yeah, there was like I said, there were some weird rules on the rule books there for a little bit, and like I said, we've done a real good job. It's shaping a lot of those up. So
yeah, no, I mean, as it grows, shit's gonna change. I just, like I said, enough about rules.
Yeah.
I think one rule that should be changed is in the UFC, number one contender fights need to be 5 rounds. Because I wanted to see 2 more rounds of Usman versus Chimaev.
That would have been interesting. And you know what, Dana White and the UFC machine, they have the power to, if they petition a commission, that's all it is they're coming in. It's not like, because you remember a lot of title fights back in the day, and a lot of main events, they were 3 rounds, like anything. Basically all the UFC did is petition the commission and say, hey, can this one be 5 rounds? Here are the reason, and then whoever was running the commission just made a decision, said, yeah, this one's 5 rounds. Hell, you remember New Jersey fights? Those were 4 rounds sometimes, and if it was tied, then they went to a 5th round.
Yeah.
We'd be sitting there before the 4th round would be over, and I'd have to remind the guys, hey, keep your gloves on just in case we need to go to a 5th round. There's no UFC rules, and that's one of those things where it was a state-to-state issue, where that's really all it was. You know what? Dana White has enough power now, and the UFC machine is big enough that if he were to ask a commission, say, hey, this is a number one contender fight, blah, 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 can this one be 5 rounds? It's really just up to a commission to say yes or no. There's nothing saying they have to. There's nothing saying they can't.
While you're on the subject, you know what? This is one of them things where I could pick Bill's brain from a fan to a fan. Okay. I noticed, and I've noticed this in a couple spots, but PA was notorious for it. Before the decision was even read, the gloves were off. Because that differs from state to state, and some commissions don't even, some commissions or whatever, but I know Pennsylvania, a lot of the shows we were at Pennsylvania, like, was that a Serb thing with boxing? Like, what? Because I've even watched some boxing stuff, and I've been like, okay, some places they rush to get the gloves off. I mean, to the point where there was a PA show where they were frantically trying to get the glove off. Like, okay, what was that?
Here's the deal with that. When you get your hands wrapped in the back, okay, especially in New Jersey. In New Jersey, when you're getting your hands wrapped, there's a commission, there's an inspector there watching you all the time, okay? In Pennsylvania, a lot of the smaller shows, we had, we had our inspectors in the locker room, and they're watching the guys get their hands wrapped. And once their hands are wrapped, they go to the inspector, and they show them. The inspector literally feels the hand wraps, make sure that the tape isn't over the knuckles, all this fun stuff.
Yeah, your normal inspection, yeah. Your pre-fight inspection.
And then they would sign it PSAC for Pennsylvania State Athletic Commission and put an X on it. Then the gloves would go on, the tape would go around the Velcro, and it would get signed off again. When they get those gloves off in the center of the cage before the decision's read, sometimes the promoters need it for the next fight because they don't have enough equipment.
Yeah.
But the main thing is that right there in the cage, coming out of the cage, Greg Serb or somebody from the commission would check to make sure that was still the hand wraps that they watched you put on, and it was still signed off Pennsylvania State Athletic Commission. And then once they checked that, and once the doctor cleared you, the state had done their due diligence as far as liability for any nonsense. And if somebody comes up later, and it was more from boxing, because these boxing motherfuckers, man, there's been some shady shit in the past where guys have fucked with hand wraps after the fact. I mean, these guys are trying to gain any edge they can. I forget what the fight was, but man, the one boxing fight, we won't stray way too deep, but the guy had taken the padding out of his gloves. It might have been Marquez, Juan Manuel Marquez or something like it. He beat the fuck out of this guy. I mean, this guy had some permanent damage after the fact. To you and I, who I think we're stand-up individuals, that seems like a really shitty thing to do. Like, we would never do that. There are people out there who will do it. There's shit bags all over this fucking sport. And, like I said, there's people who use steroids constantly. You're out there to beat another man's fucking skull in, and it's like, some people do it anyway. I would never do it because I don't want to win like that. But I've also never fought for 7-figure payday. But yeah, when they want those gloves off in the cage, they're checking to make sure that those hand wraps are still the same hand wraps, because obviously once you step out of the cage, the commission checks you, the doctor checks you, they want to be done with you because they figure you're going to run to the back, pack your bags, and get the fuck out of there. And if you did something shady, that's exactly what the fuck you're going to do.
Yeah.
No. Venue. So that's what the deal with trying to get your gloves off was.
I always had a question, or like people would come over and they'd see it and ask questions, and I'm like, well, we never like we dealt, like I said, we dealt with a third party commission in New York.
Okay.
Virginia was very much you guys. Like I saw it here and there, and I knew it varied, and I knew it was a commission thing, and I figured it had something to do with double verifying or clearing this or any liability. So I always thought that. I'm like, you know what? Let me ask him while I got him on the show.
Yeah, that they just wanted to make sure that the hand wraps that you're leaving the cage with were the same ones that you got strapped up with. So,
Cool.
but then again,
We
there's
covered
nothing.
that.
There's nothing that says in the back you couldn't rewrap your hands and have your own Sharpie and sign
Yeah.
it PSAC. You know what I mean? It's like there's always a guy trying to game the system. You know?
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that, at the end of that card, I think everybody's stock went up. Except for the doctor, of course. But everybody else's stock went up. Usman, even there's very few times where it happened. I wouldn't say very few times it happens, but again, people not understanding this, like just because you lost doesn't mean your stock went down.
Especially when
You
you
know,
come up a weight class and help them out on a couple days' notice. You know? Now,
yeah, you come up a weight class and help them out in a couple of days. Not only does your stock with you as a dog not go down, but people don't understand the concept. The UFC really takes care of people that help take care of the sport. Like if you step up and you help the UFC out, you're going to get paid first and foremost.
yeah.
But, you know, that fight they dropped the other week, the guy got his show money and his win money.
Well, that's like
The Cutelaba fight.
That's like the Volkanovski fight. You know, he didn't lose any stock. People still love to see that guy. He can't beat Islam. You know, that's he can't beat Islam.
No.
Islam looked huge in that freaking fight compared to him. I don't know if Islam just did it better this time around, but they you know, I saw them in the back, not throwing punches at each other. You know, Volkanovski went into his locker room to congratulate him. Man, Islam is fucking ridiculously big compared to Volkanovski. You know, his stock didn't go down. He saved a card. You know, that was going to be yeah, he saved a card, took it on 12 days notice, and yeah, his stock didn't go down. He just can't fight at 155. You know, that's it.
No. Yeah, I mean that'll be his last. Him not getting another title shot at 155 currently, that's not.
Yeah, and
that's not his stock going down.
And that's okay. And you know what? He has a hell of a job on his hands. This Ilya Taporia, that guy's legit, man. You know, he's got his own shit to worry about at 145. You know, you and I had talked at shows previously about, you know, the UFC wanting a double champ or not. I mean, Volkanovski's going to have his hands full just with Ilya Taporia, let alone trying to worry about fighting Charles Oliveira and Justin Gaethje. You know, can you imagine Justin Gaethje versus Volkanovski? Like, you know,
Yeah.
that'd be a fun fight to watch, but it's like, you know,
Holloway just hit him up. Holloway just hit him up on Twitter and said,
yeah,
if you ain't doing nothing, let's do one for the BMF. And I'm like, no, don't do that. We don't just hang out. Strickland, Chimaev, what are your first? Get your thoughts on it now, and we'll see how it evolves.
I'll tell you what. Now, I think Chimaev. I'm almost positive. I believe him. He said he broke his hand in the first round, which kind of, you know, that's obviously going to fuck with any kind of striking, any kind of grappling. But let's just say he was perfectly okay and he's bullshitting. That version of Chimaev probably doesn't beat Sean Strickland. You know,
No.
Chimaev didn't look great, but like I said, I think he broke his hand. He says he broke his hand. Who knows what the truth is, but he didn't seem like that same monster that we've always seen. He did it first, you know, and then especially in that first round. And if any coaches are watching, if your guy gets that position in the first round, just start beating the hell out of him. You know what I mean? And the guy will give you his neck, or the referee will be paying attention. You know, Chimaev hung out on his back and was like swimming for submissions for like 3 or 4 minutes. Start beating the shit out of that guy. You know, start punching him in his freaking head violently. And Chimaev didn't do that. So Chimaev probably is, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He probably did break his hand. But the amount of activity and the amount of violence we saw out of him, you know, Sean Strickland seems like, I like Sean Strickland. He's a man's man. He's a fun guy. You know, I refereed one of his first couple fights in the UFC. Sean Strickland's one of those guys that when he starts getting some confidence, he starts fighting a little more confident, you know. And I think if Strickland can hang in there in the first round or two and be like, holy, you know, the big bad wolf isn't so big and bad, you know, Sean Strickland starts gaining some confidence, you know. And the thing outside of Alex Pereira, you know, Sean Strickland can take a hit, you know, he's there with it. You know what? I think he could have fought a little smarter game plan against Alex Pereira, but Chimaev versus Sean Strickland, that's a closer fight than most people think.
Oh yeah, well, and the fact the X factor on that, they did train together. That
Yeah,
I don't care what anybody says, unless you're talking a 5 or 6 year gap between when you train with somebody and when you train with them again. You're really able to pick up on little things that as a teammate, when you're cornering, and I've had this to where I've cornered people where I see a guy doing this and he keeps doing it and he keeps getting tagged. And we talk about it in the gym, and then you go in the corner, you're like, hey, you're doing this again. Like you know the guy does this, he always does it. And if you, on the opportunities you have, you put it in your little Rolodex. Oh, this is a guy I spar with, you know, once, 2, 3, 4 times a month or whatever. I know he does this. Let me check it. You check it, you throw a couple feints, see what's there. Oh, okay, he's still doing the same thing I know he does. That brings something different to the table. That changes the game as far as the complexity of the fight.
Well, I think that you know, that's, as fans, we've seen them both fight more than 5 times. You know, it's Strickland's going to come forward, try and walk him down and punch him. Chimaev's probably going to try and go underneath and shoot. You know, maybe Sean Strickland would have a little different game plan and try and lay back a little bit, so you don't open yourself up for that takedown. But yeah, I mean, we're going to get that fight. I believe that's next. You know, Dana White said that's next. I don't see what other direction they would go with it. But I was watching. You remember the old UFC fighter Smiling Sam Alvey?
Yeah.
He has a TikTok channel and he's pretty present. And he said, and Smiling Sam, he seems like a pretty honest guy. He said that the Strickland's coaches did not want Sean sparring with Chimaev anymore. Now I don't know if he's in. Oh, and he said, so I feel like I'm going to make a lot of money with that one, like betting on it. I'm not sure if he was, you know, if the reason is because Hamzat goes 100% in training and they thought that Sean was going to get hurt. Smiling Sam was kind of insinuating that Chimaev was just getting the better of him all the time. So who the heck knows what the story is? But I believe we'll probably get that. It depends on Chimaev's hand, but we'll probably get that.
Taking that into consideration, but and again, it's. So I know Sam had trained with Dan Henderson, and then Dan Henderson was actually just on Rogan talking about Sean.
Yeah.
And said basically like he was a good guy to have in the gym because he was that guy that went hard. But so I don't know. I know they trained together. I know Khamzat and Sean trained together in Vegas, and I know Strickland got put out of Henderson's gym, and I'm pretty sure that's the time Sam Alvey was talking about. But again, you're talking there's a gap between that. There's different things. He's training full-time at Syndicate now. He's down in Vegas. So
the thing with Strickland, you know, and part of the reason I like him, you know, he's a shit-talking bully, you know. Hamzat's a bully. You know, neither one of them is going to let each other talk. Those personalities aren't going to mesh, you know. And, you know, Hamzat probably, you know, when there's 2 alpha personalities in the gym, you know, and those guys get in, even to spar, neither one's really going to back down, and a situation can turn ugly pretty quick. And I remember Dan Henderson, I read the same thing that you said, that he said he had to ask Sean to leave because he was like pretty disrespectful to teammates and shit like that. And you know what? How many years ago was that? 5, 6 years ago, however the hell long. We all grow up as people. You know, Sean was probably a cocky little, I mean, he's still confident, but he was probably a disrespect. He didn't know how to channel it, you know, and he probably offended more people in the gym than he helped, you know, because he's a cocky dickhead. You remember seeing him in Orlando. What was the guy's last name? He passed away since, but the grappling champion that tried to break Sean's fucking arm, Orlando. I'll send you the tape on it. Sean was.
The big boy. Yeah. I remember Jason Perillo, I think, posted it or something a while back. It was at the Rooka gym.
Well, Sean was being real insulting to the guy before they got into the cage to have a little grappling session. You know, it was a douchebag move by Orlando. You know, you don't jump on something like that quick little. and he's trying to show Sean, I guess he said that he wanted to grapple with Sean, and Sean was like, well, who's this guy? And they said, oh, he's like a 5-time jiu-jitsu world champion. And Sean Strickland, he's like, jiu-jitsu, gave like the little hand jerk off motion. So Orlando was like, all right. He brought him in, and Sean had a fight coming up, and it is a douchebag move. You don't jump on a heel hook. You don't jump on a submission like that where you're going to strain somebody's ligaments or hurt them. In training, you always give a guy a chance to tap out, without hurting him. Or if you got him and he's just refusing to tap, just let it go and move on to something else.
If you're a good training partner.
This guy tried to This guy tried to teach Sean. Yeah, this guy tried to teach Sean a lesson, and then Sean got pissed off real quick in the moment and threw a punch at Orlando, and a situation that could have escalated real bad. Sean Strickland seemed, even from when I gave him his rules meeting back, it must have been 2015, 2016. I refereed him. He seems like he's grown up a lot. He's not such a cocky airhead as far as he goes on some of these podcasts and he's insulting these influencers and stuff like that. But
he's putting a character. It's the same way with Colby Covington. Every single person I know that has interacted with Colby on a personal level says that's not Colby Covington. Colby says it himself. He was on the verge of getting cut. Yeah, you got to put on a show.
Says it's not Colby. Yeah, Colby Covington says that's not Colby Covington. It's like he's fucking around. But Sean Strickland, he knows how to do it and have a little more fun with it these days. He was on the Nelk Boys podcast the other day and just calling basically a bunch of beta bitches. But he was being a little funny about it. He's not so aggressive. So I could see way back when Sean got kicked out / asked to leave Dan Henderson's gym. It wasn't due to his physical abilities or what he brought today. It was his personality and how insulting he was to people. I think he's doing a lot better with it these days. He even tried to show Adesanya some respect in the cage. After he raised his hand, he's like, "Guy's a fucking legend." So, I mean, even Sean has his moments of leveling out and coming back to reality. So,
yeah, time will tell on that one. I think we'll get into that one further when we get down the road. But I guess we're pushing an hour. I know you're limited on time. That's why we fit it in this week. I'm limited on time. So, ready to tell everybody what pissed you off this week?
I think I hit on it a little bit, but yeah, I can double back on it.
All right, well then we'll just go ahead and jump in early this week, guys. Like I said, a bunch of shit going on. So this week's ref rant brought to you by Pull No Punches Apparel. Our weekly insight into referee Bill Bookwalter's mind into what's pissed him off the most this week. Without further ado, the ref rant again. Fight Show episode 5 ref rant brought to you by Pull No Punches Apparel. Take it away, Bill.
All right, ref rant this week. I'm not going to be crazy long-winded about it, especially since we talked about it a little bit during the show. Let's fix some of these freaking rules. Let's introduce common sense to some of this stuff. We're putting a lot of self-inflicted stress and controversy on ourselves that doesn't really need to be there. As far as the doctor, we didn't even hit on the Victor Henry thing, but we're going to let that die about whether it was a low shot, whether it wasn't, and the doctor comes in the cage and he's telling him that his balls don't hurt, okay? We're at a point in time now where there's been enough events. We can have qualified judges, people who are experienced, people who have officiated it, that have fought before. And that doesn't mean, I'm not saying there's still not going to be some mistakes or stuff we haven't seen for the first time. But my ref rant this week would be to anybody involved in the ABC, the people responsible for making the uniform rules of mixed martial arts. Let's fix some of these rules. We're making we're bringing a lot of undue stress and unnecessary controversy on ourselves for stuff that's so far away from what the rules were originally made for. And like I said, I won't be long-winded on it, especially because we hit it on during the show. Let's clean some of that stuff up. All right, there's my ref rant for this week.
All right, guys, ref rant. Fight Show episode 5. We're getting out of here. We got family stuff going on. We'll be back next Thursday, 7 p.m. live on Facebook, interactive, stream to YouTube. Again, brought to you as always by Pull No Punches Apparel and 717 Surplus. Fight Show, guys. We're out.
See you, bro.